Okay, well, I'm standing in for Fiona McKenzie, who, lucky her, is still in Canada, doing some work with the Canadian government, or one of the Canadian provincial governors at the moment, looking at problems around that interface between the First Nations people and mining in Canada. So Fiona will give us a lot of information when she comes back about that trip. The program Enduring Community Value from Mining came from a whole lot of information we were picking up around from both the community side of things and also from the mining companies themselves. And the problem was a lot of effort gets put into the setting up of mines and all the agreements that go with that. And as part of that, the closure plans, most state and territory governments now require quite detailed closure plans, but those closure plans work very much around the environmental considerations. In other words, that bringing the land back to a state as near to what it was before. But very little effort was put into thinking about what the social implications of closure were. And I suppose that really came to the fore with the global financial crisis, and in particular with Ravensthorpe, where BHP was setting up a nickel mine there, just about to really start. They're just doing all the initial groundwork on that. Community expectations have built up. A lot of people had changed. Local people have made significant investments in property and in businesses and so on, and then all of a sudden the rug was pulled from under them. And the idea then started to come through about how do you get an enduring community value from mining, and what are the components of that which ensure that when that big juggernaut moves on, there is actually something left behind, and something left behind which the community itself desires, and not something which is imposed on them from the mining side. And it's interesting talking to the key people on the mining side. They are really worried about that as well in terms of their corporate social responsibility. They don't want to get to a situation where mines are closing down and there's a whole lot of bad press coming in around that. It's just logical from their point of view that they do that as cleanly as possible. So the whole process with this is to, one, understand. One of the key things I think in this is a lack of information about what impacts a mine is actually having locally. A lot of the work we do, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence around about this and that. There's a flyover effect and money's been sucked out from regions and nothing going back, and that led to the royalties for regions type policy that we see in WA. The first stage of this project is just trying to understand what is the local impact of a mine, how is it felt, what jobs are created locally, what's the economic multipliers associated with that, and as Jan said before, work we've done with the Desert Knowledge CRC showed really low economic multipliers from mining. So understanding what those flows are, understanding what's been spent locally, but also then taking that information in a way that can be used to say that local communities can actually hold on to more of that wealth locally. So having the information available empowers the community, and putting the community and the mining company together to start looking at how they might actually get a greater economic footprint left behind. But more importantly, thinking about what the community wants at the point where the mine actually closes down. Now, I'll give you an example. For instance, if a community wants to sees itself as a tourism centre post-mining, what are the things that they're going to need? Well, they don't want big haul pack, people that can drive haul packs, because that's not much good in a tourism operation. But they need people that are good in hospitality. They need facilities around hospitality. They probably need a whole series. They'll need things around good telecommunications, etc., etc. So while the mining company's there, and while they can actually have that interaction with the community, we can actually start to design a future for that community, or the community to be able to design a future for itself. In other words, we don't want all our local people employed driving trucks. We want people that are going to be moving into the service industry. We want infrastructure left behind, which is actually going to help that future vision that the community has for that particular area. And it's interesting, again, just talking to the mining companies, they can do a lot of that stuff very easily because a lot of it lines up with their current operations. At a different scale is at a regional scale where there are a large number of mines and there are opportunities there. For instance, we know, and this is just a peculiarity that I still can't quite fathom, that all the bread for the mines in the Pilbara is flown every day from Perth. No one has actually thought to set up a business locally that supplies bread to mines. The laundry gets flown out daily to Perth and back again. So there are opportunities at a larger scale where you can actually aggregate demand, where communities can pick that up. And then finally, one of the scales that we're thinking about, and nothing's been finalised in this as such yet, is how does a place like Port Hedland deal with a post-mining era? It's a big place, it's grown because of mining. How does a community like that then look at a situation where mining closes down, or all of a sudden the Chinese economy crashes and iron ore is not in demand? So that's where we're at with that project at the moment.